What is up, y'all? It has been super long since your girl has gone live. Happy New Year's Eve, if that makes sense. Hopefully, everyone out there is staying safe. Hopefully, you are holding it all together before this year ends. I truly wanted to do this podcast episode because it's been a while since I've been on, a few weeks, and also because 2020 was just one hell of a year, and I wanted to be able to have an interactive conversation with y'all out there about how crazy this year has been, and I didn't want it to just be me talking my shit, um, but yes, I wanted it to be able to have like this great conversation. I initially, my girl Shantae, shout outs to you, Tay, uh, Styles, the hip hop goddess. Go check her out, y'all. She does all things media, radio. She's pretty dope. But she had suggested to me when I put my call and response out about if anyone wanted to be a part of a Candid Talk with Chanel episode, that holler at me, email me, DM me. And she was like, girl, you need to go on Clubhouse so that you can have that type of interactive conversation, with your community. And as y'all know, or maybe some of y'all don't know, I have struggled with being able to, what's on my shirt, sorry, struggle with being able to really build my base, my community, my people, because I've been at this for about 5 years now, and with building Complex Simplicity, which morphed or had a different extension, which was Candid Talk with Chanel, my podcast, and Move with Finesse, a dance brand I do with my girl. So it's like we should, to be honest with you, I should have a bigger following than what I do, and a lot of it is on me. Probably not really having the skill sets that I should have when it comes to networking. And so Clubhouse, I was like, you know what, let me check this thing on out. And, I decided to kind of get down. And it is a great platform to be able to have that interactive conversation with, the people that rock out with me. So please, y'all, the next chat that I set up for over there, please, like, don't leave your girl hanging. I had everything set up and ain't nobody was checking for your girl. So I've definitely in 2021 have to do way better with like really putting awareness out there about what I do and what I am about. But let's get into it. I got my phone so we could talk about it. Let's talk about it because this year has been crazy. The biggest blessing for me this year is the fact that I had a child. I had my one and only, my link, my Bubsy Wubs. My husband and I were blessed with a baby boy. And so, to be honest with you, I think I've said this before in quite a few episodes of the Candid Talk with Chanel podcast, that I was okay with being at home, sitting at home on quarantine, because I was already 6 months pregnant when the shutdown and the lockdown happened. So that worked in my favor. I was one of the managers at Coach. And, of course, our stores had to shut down. And so I was getting paid to sit at home and to bake a baby in the oven, so to speak. So I was okay with that. I didn't have to stand on my feet. I was able to really process a lot of things. I had time to think about a lot of things. And for me, God allowed that to happen, and I was here for it, right? But of course, along the way of being at home and this pandemic happening right before all of our eyes, there were people that passed away. One of my husband's good friends from college died of COVID. Other people that I've known throughout my life have passed away. A lot of people have been struggling financially, and we have just seen how it has turned around so many people's lives, so many families' lives, with the death rates, with the financial stressors, and, as humans, being forced to stay in the house or being forced to not really be able to interact the way that we know how, like, that's real. You know what I'm saying? That's a very difficult thing to have to deal with. And I learned a lot about myself as much as an extrovert that I am, and I love to be around people and interact. I've also always been someone who loves my own company, who likes my own peace and quiet, who likes to be one with my thoughts, and who genuinely enjoys rocking out with myself. So it wasn't that hard for me, aside from being pregnant, kind of being quarantined in the house. You know, my husband is a fireman, he's an essential worker, so he would still have to go out and work and grind, right? But I was okay with being alone. I was able to bang out mad podcast episodes. I was able to do a lot of mental preparation and physical preparation for our baby to arrive. I was able to just like, as I've said before, save a lot of money. I was able to really put some things in order that needed to be put in order. And had this pandemic not have happened and I would have still been at work working up until I gave birth, I don't know that I would have been able to like be where I am now, so to speak, with certain things, right? So as much of a disaster as this year has been in some ways, I have to be honest in saying that it helps me in a lot of ways as well. Um, so how 2020 overall impacted my life: I gave birth to my beautiful baby boy, my son, who definitely changed me at the core, so to speak. You know, being a mom and being new to this mom life is a very real thing, but I love it. And if I'm being very honest and transparent, my prayer throughout my pregnancy was that I would love being a mom. I wasn't sure that being a mom was going to be something that I absolutely fell in love with. That, you know, you hear a lot of moms say that, you know, oh, being a mom is everything and like it's the best thing that could ever happen to you and all of that. I just wanted to make sure that I felt that love and connection, right, with my child, and just also with the journey and with the process. And I've only been a mom for 5 months, but I have to say that I love it. It doesn't matter how tired I am. It doesn't matter like if my period is about to come and my son is just like cranky as hell. It doesn't matter. You know, I have my moments where my nerves will be a little agitated, but then I look at him and I'm just like, that's my baby, you know? And I was surprised that I've been able to adapt to this change the way that I have. If I'm being frank, I think even my husband's surprised that I've been able to kind of adapt to being a mom in a very smooth way. But I don't take credit for that. I give all that credit to that man upstairs because, like I said, I always knew and welcomed having a child, but I also felt within myself that if I never had a child, that I would still feel fulfilled in life, right? So for me, having a child wasn't like my end all be all. I was like, if it's meant to be, it'll be. If I'm supposed to be a mom, I will, you know. But if it's not in the cards for me, like I'm cool with that. You know, life can still be very fulfilling and amazing, so to speak. So that's really how 2020 impacted my life as far as, you know, me being a mom now and really having to put someone else's needs in very high consideration, even above yours at times. I'm aware that I have to still fill my tank and make sure that I have what I need so that I could be a great mom and a great wife. But let's keep it real. Like when you're a parent, your child's needs, especially when they're this small, definitely 9 out of 10 times come before your own. But I embrace it, and like I said, I'm super happy that it went down for me the way that it did. I always believe that God knows best, so I'm here for the I'm here for it all, so to speak. I'm trying to think what else. Financially, I can honestly say I have never been better financially, and once again, I can't take credit for this. All of this is attributed and goes to that man upstairs again. Just how he orchestrated for things to roll out and happen for me at the top of the year. I've been able to finally see growth and maturity within myself when it comes to my fiscal responsibility. And I am trying to grow even further and hold on to it like no other. I am not trying to revert back to my old ways and old spending habits. I am trying to be as responsible as I can financially. Once again, I have someone else to think about. And even when you're married in general, money could be a big stressor and a point of contention. And your girl, I ain't got time for that. I ain't got time to be a mom and to have marital issues over money. I don't have time for it. I don't want it. So I'm glad that, naturally I started to really mature in this area. Um, I think 2020 and having time to sit at home and think and process things while being quarantined because of the pandemic, it really, really has been forcing me to tap into what my purpose is. And if I'm being honest, y'all, I feel like I've been on this journey for forever. And I just sometimes I'm like, God, just spell it out. Just make it clear. What am I not getting? Like, what is it that my purpose, what is it that you have designed and willed for me to do with my life? I would love for that to align with my day-to-day job. Like, what is going on? Let your girl know. I'm tired of trying to figure it out. And I'm still in search of these answers. But every year I do feel like I'm getting closer and closer to it. And I'm really to the point now, it's not really about my selfish needs and wants and desires anymore. I'm to the point where I'm like, God, I just want to be where you want me to be. I don't want my life to be harder than it has to be. I don't want to continue to waste time that I don't have. If nothing else, this year taught us that time is not on our side and that you never know when it's your time to pass. 3 weeks ago, maybe 2.5, 3 weeks ago, it's like maybe about between 11 and 12 afternoon in the morning afternoon. I tend to nap. Oh, sorry. I got an alert from Clubhouse. I was about to say, are people over there? Do I need to jump over there now? But so I tend to nap with my son when he takes his longest nap around that time of day. When he gets up for his first bottle, he goes down for a nap. And then when he gets up for that second bottle, his longest nap of the day is after that second bottle. So I tend to try to go to sleep with him and get a couple of more Z's, right? So I'm knocked out, not really in a heavy, like once you're a parent, you're never like in a heavy sleep, but I'm sleeping. And I didn't realize that my phone was going off. My childhood best friend was hitting me up. And she left me a voice note. And so in the voice note, she tells me that someone who was her cousin, who we both grew up with, who I used to be very close to back in the day in elementary school, passed away. And I'm like, what? So I kind of like jump out of my slumber, so to speak, contact her. And like, it's crazy. Like, you never think when you're children that something like that would happen to you. You know what I'm saying? Or that someone that would pass away. I'm 37 years old. We're all in my friend group with the people I grew up with for the most part. We're all 37 years old. So it's like, what do you mean she passed away, right? And so I say that to say life is like way too short, way too short. And the fact that someone who I grew up with, someone who I used to always have sleepovers with, someone who we would sit and fantasize and strategize and talk about where we wanted to be when we were the age that we are now, she's no longer here. Like, what? Thank God she and I just happened to reconnect via social media this last year. So at least we were able to kind of catch up with one another's lives in some kind of way. But like, that's crazy. I haven't physically seen her since we were in high school. Like, and to she was out there killing it. She had her own bakery business. Like, it's just crazy. So life is short. And because and y'all know I've always been saying this prior to the pandemic, I've always been on that life is too short tip. And this year just reminded me of that very thing. Like, life is way too short. And I don't have time to waste, which is why I'm getting to the point where I really want to be in the will of God as it pertains to my purpose, my overall life. Like, once again, I don't want to waste time that I don't even have to waste. You know what I'm saying? So that's another, way that I was impacted. All the people, a majority of the people that I know that passed away this year, whether it was due to COVID or due to other circumstances, they were all young. It's not like it was like, yeah, so-and-so passed away and they were 78 years old, or so-and-so passed away at 86. No, it's like so-and-so passed away at 37. So-and-so passed away at 45. So-and-so passed away at 42. Like, people that are in my age box. Like, it's crazy. So sad. I give my sincere condolences to everyone, whether I know you or I don't, who has lost a loved one this year. I could only imagine with all that's going on how hard that is. How hard is it to really mourn your loved one when you can't even do funeral services the way that we know. Sorry, my corner's a little messy over there. We can't even like hold funeral services in the way that we have been accustomed to holding them for years. Like all the people that might have meant something in their life or had some kind of connection can't even be there. Half the time you can't even view the body, especially if they died of COVID. Like it's just been a nightmare. And my sincerest condolences goes out to everyone who, had to go through that. So between the deaths of young people I know in my age box, between just how things have not been getting better, I feel like we're going to go back into another shutdown, and we probably need to. These numbers are still spiking, especially with the holidays, people still traveling and going here and there. Like at the end of the day, like things are really not getting better between the police brutality and all the killings of black people, like between just social injustice, between it's just been a lot. It's just been a bit much. It's been a lot, and I'm just thankful that in the midst of all that chaos and craziness and like seriously sad circumstances, that I did get a blessing out of that, and that is my child. And when I look at him, I hug him tight at night, and when I look at him, it reminds me of the beauty that was meant and purpose for the world, if that makes sense, right? In the midst of all of this chaos. Are y'all gonna take the COVID vaccine? I'm literally talking to myself because ain't nobody in this room, but we're gonna save this live and post it. But are y'all going to take the COVID vaccine? Because, y'all know me, I don't believe what the media says. I take it with a grain of salt. And I didn't like the fact that aside from essential workers who, work in hospitals and who are like people in my husband's line of work, like firemen, I'm sure policemen and all these types of careers and occupations, they're being strongly urged to take this vaccination. I don't trust it. I don't like that they're being guinea pigs as well as brown folk, black folk are being guinea pigs to see how this thing is really going to work. No. For me, I'm never one that takes a flu shot on a normal day, and praise be to Jesus, I am not one that gets the flu. Hey, got somebody in here. I'm hoping that, at the end of the day, I'm trying to be as precautious as I can, and I'm hoping that I don't come down with COVID or anything like that. Another thing I didn't mention, quite a few people in my life, like in my intimate circle, have gotten COVID. So I do understand that it is a very real thing, but am I going to take the vaccination? I think it's too early. I'm always leery of what is being put into your bodies when you take these vaccinations. If it wasn't for the fact that my baby has to have these vaccinations, I probably wouldn't even want him to get stuff pumped in his body, right? We last took him for his shots maybe almost a month ago, 3 weeks ago. And, he got like a fever the next day. Like I hate, like why do we have to go through this? You know what I'm saying? But I understand he needs it. He's small. He has to take whatever shots that he has to take. But me as an adult, I feel like it's too soon. I'm not going to be a guinea pig for the COVID vaccination. I'm really not. What about you? I believe you're Matt. But are you going to get the vaccination? I don't want it. I need to sit back and see, and my thing is, who's to say with the first round that they got it right? Like they still don't know enough about COVID to even have any kind of immunization for it. Like, I don't know. I don't know, y'all. But I feel in my bones that it's going to get to a point where we don't have a choice. I feel like, especially for like kids, school age children, it's going to get to the point where they can't even register to school or start a school year without having that vaccine. I feel like with adults, it may get to a point where, the economy gets better and you finally, let's say you were out of work, you finally got you a job. I feel like that's going to be something that maybe is put on the table. Like, we need you guys to be vaccinated. Like, who knows, especially depending on what line of work you're in. I just feel like it's going to get to a point where we're strong armed to get this vaccination, which makes me wonder what is in it. But I'll try not to let my conspiracy theory self come out too much. So I don't know how I feel. Y'all let me know how y'all feel. Type in the comments, if you feel like you are going like, hell yeah, I'm getting that vaccination. I ain't trying to get no COVID out here. And my thing is, just like a flu shot, who's to say that you're not going to get it? I know tons of people who would get the flu shots and they would still come down with the full-blown flu. You know what I'm saying? And then I know other people that would get the flu shot and they'd be fine. So is that going to be a similar effect? Are you going to get the COVID vaccination and then some people start to get symptoms? You know what I'm saying? Or is it going to be where you have this full immunity? There are other strands going on right now. Like, is that vaccination going to be able to address the new strands that are out? Like, I need answers. We all need answers. I don't know. It's too early for me. It's way too early. Are you scared when you're hearing about all these different strands that are now coming out as it pertains to COVID? And I believe that it's in the U.S. right now, which is crazy. It was in the United Kingdom, if I'm not mistaken. It's like in Colorado and somewhere else. So you already know what's coming and heading to New York just in time. People are still traveling, getting on planes. Like, it's crazy. So I'm just like, folks, sit down. Stay, like, where do you need to travel right now? Like, and I have friends who I love dearly, ready to board planes and go away. Like, can we wait? Like, nothing may happen to you. Prayerfully, nothing happens to you or your loved ones, but there's still that what if. And is it worth risking you and everyone else who you're around or who you live with just to have a couple of days to be with extended family, or even if it is a parent, or I don't know, like, is it worth that risk of your life and the people who you love that you're around regularly? I think about that every day. I have a little one at home, and a husband, of course, and it's just like, is it worth me hanging out or traveling? Like, I was supposed to travel to be with family this past Thanksgiving, and I'm like, I wanted nothing more than to be able to escape New York, especially being quarantined and pregnant for all that time. Like, I wanted to be able to, like, go to another state, but it wasn't worth it. Why put my household at risk and my other family's households at risk just because we tired of being in the house and we want to see each other? Like, I just feel like it's not worth it, And I want to implore everybody out there, please be careful, y'all. Like, it really isn't worth your life potentially, or your loved ones' lives. Just because you may think you're fine, you could be asymptomatic and not even know and pass it on to someone else who's more vulnerable, physically or medically, and then that could be a disastrous situation. And then in hindsight, you're thinking, when this person is on a ventilator in the hospital, God forbid, or they pass, God forbid, was it worth it? Was that trip worth it? Was that house party or that kickback worth it? Like, my husband and I, we always do a holiday party, an annual holiday party, and we look forward to it every year. It's like our thing. We've been doing this forever. People were actually asking us if we were doing it this year. We were like, no, like, it's not worth it. Even if I only had 10 people in my house, it's not worth it. And I'm going to be 100% honest. There were times throughout the fall coming into December, I was invited some places. Some places I turned down the invitation lovingly. One or two I still kind of went to. And when I went, I was like, it's not worth me feeling guilty after the fact or feeling concerned now. Let's hope for the next 10 to 14 days I don't have any symptoms because of who I was around. Like, to me, it's just not worth it. Once again, I have a little one at home. Like, ain't nobody got time to be with a sick baby or, being in the hospital yourself. Like, nobody, it's just never worth it. So I would even feel guilty when I went out socially here, and or maybe only twice throughout this whole thing. I kind of felt uncomfortable while I was there in the moment, and when I got home, and for those 10 to 14 days afterwards, right? Like, why put my husband and my child at risk just to support a friend or to hang out? Like, it's never that serious. We could Zoom it up. We could FaceTime. We could WhatsApp. Like, we could Clubhouse. There's so many apps that are out now that can keep us, connected. And I get it. I rather in-person connection. I'm not somebody that likes to just be on the phone or, likes to like be, on Zoom like that. But it's the best that we can do right now. To me, it's the safest route. You know what I'm saying? So, folks, please be careful out there. New Year's Eve, please, folks, don't be having house parties and craziness. Like, you know what I'm saying? Is it worth it at the end of the day? My husband and I thought of having some family over, but even we're like, is it worth it? Like, it's not worth it. You know what I'm saying? But that's just me. I'm going to change gears from this whole 2020 COVID thing. Kevin Samuels. I don't know if you heard of him. You should have. He had a video clip that went viral. Kevin Samuels is an image consultant. He says he's a wealthy man, so we go along with it. That he has some kind of net worth out here in these streets. And he has his own show. I don't think he refers to it as a podcast, but he has his own YouTube channel where he talks a lot about high value men, meaning men who have money, men who are millionaires out here, and the types of women they go for, and how a lot of us women, in particular black women, we always try to act as though we deserve to have a high value man, meaning that millionaire dude. And however, we're not, because he rates women's looks a lot with the Richter scale of if you're an 8, a 9, and a 10. He has callers that call into his show. He always asks them, like, what's their weight? Literally, how much do they weigh? He asks them what's their clothing size. He asks these questions. And he often asks them to rate their physical attributes, to rate how they look. And he says you can't use a 7, right? So he said you have to rate yourself from a scale of 1 to 10, but you can't use 7. I guess he feels like 7 is the safe zone. 7 is that average. You're cute. You're not unattractive. It's too safe. So he's like, you have to either use, 1 to 6, 8 to 10 to rate yourself. According to his philosophy, women who are 8s, 9s, and 10s are the types of women more than likely who would physically attract these high value men, these millionaires once again. He also talks a lot about, a lot of times women who want these kind of men, they want to be taken care of. They're not out here trying to work. And he says that's fine, but you have to also have, I guess, whatever attributes that these types of men are looking for, which in a lot of cases, I guess, is women who are agreeable, women who are submissive, women who are 8s, 9s, and 10s. They are drop dead gorgeous. They're probably like the Kim Kardashians. You're not overweight. You take care of yourself physically. You know how to take care of your man, I guess, sexually. You know how to keep a house. You know how to cook a meal. You know how to be about those kids. So his point is, pretty much a lot of us black women feel like we should be with these kind of millionaire dudes, successful men, but we're not willing to do the things that are required for you to be with that kind of guy. For that kind of man to want to be with you, you have to have these things. And so a lot of these women, let me not say female, but a lot of these women callers, they'll call into his show and they will go, they're like, I don't understand why, I'm super educated. I have a PhD. I'm a doctor. I have my own money. And he has this thing, with women, I guess, who are like PhDs or women who claim to have a lot of money of their own. He's just like, y'all don't get it. Y'all never want to listen. I'm sitting here telling you you're not going to get this kind of guy. It's out of your league. He's very blunt in his delivery, borderline disrespectful, sometimes disrespectful if we're being honest. And I've listened to quite a few of his YouTube videos, and I'm waiting for that one woman to call in who could like stick it to him, or who can kind of make him sit and think just for a minute. Unfortunately, with the videos that I've watched, that hasn't happened. Comment below if you've seen otherwise. And what I will say about Kevin Samuels is this. He definitely is very polarizing. His delivery is his delivery is crazy. So if you are a woman who is a feminist, you are not going to like him off the rip, off the cusp, just in his thoughts and his perspectives and his ideas, right? You're probably not going to gel well with him. You're not going to agree with a lot of things that he says. Now, the reason that I paid attention to him is because of that video that went viral where he said to this young woman, I believe she was like in her early 30s, she makes six figures, and she was saying that she's having a hard time finding men who also make the amount of money that she makes, more of successful men, right? She finds herself dating guys who really don't have much or don't have what she has, and she feels like she's experienced where she was used in a situation. They get with her, but then they want to like start trying, because she's an entrepreneur. I think she has like a dog or a pet grooming business. They want to somehow get down with her business, and she's just tired of it. You know, Kevin Samuels was asking certain questions. You know, he was like, well, do you know any other men who are, you know, to this level that you're looking for? And she was like, yeah, my dad, my uncle. And he was like, no. Like, do you know like people that you're not related to? And to me, I didn't quite understand why he shut her down there, because what better example than to have a male that's literally in your family? What better example than to have a father who was able to be successful financially, for that to be able to teach you certain things? But for whatever reasons, he shut that down. First of all, he was already on one because she called wanting to talk about this when it wasn't the topic. And he's a stickler for whatever the topic of his show is for the night. The callers in his mind need to respect that. That's his thing, right? And you know what? This is his platform. This is his show. So if you're going to step into his YouTube channel platform and you want to be a part of it, I get it. He wants you to like honor what he's talking about for the night. So the human side of me, the content creator in me, can understand how that could throw you off, or maybe I'm not talking about that tonight. This is what the topic is. Let's stick to the topic, right? I get that, but it's all in your delivery. So what he did in this video that went viral was he like went in on this girl, this young woman, I should say, and he was just like, ma'am, you're average at best, meaning he asked her to rate herself. She rated herself like a 5 or a 6. This was actually a video kind of call, so he was able to see how she looks, and he was just like, yo, you're average looking at best. These kind of high value millionaire men you're looking for, they're out of your league. Like, it's not happening for you. And he shut her down very bluntly. I'll give it to him, here and there he was trying not to go there, but at the same time he still went there. And so I get why a lot of women, a lot of feminists feel some kind of way, for sure. Because his delivery is crazy. It comes off real crazy. I remember doing a podcast during the pandemic where I said, you know, I get how we can get caught up in someone's delivery and miss the message, right? I get that. I even illustrated how when I worked in the social work world, one of my directors used to talk to everybody crazy. And if you made a mistake or something could have been handled in a better way, she would like embarrass you and like talk down to you and like break you down. And a lot of people, me even included at certain points, wouldn't get the teachable moment because of her delivery, right? And it's not cool to have a whack delivery like that where you're tearing people down and you're not like saying things in a way where they can receive what you're saying and learn from whatever it is that needs to be learned, because you're talking real crazy to people. We as humans, we're wired to shut down. Unless you're used to dysfunction and abuse in some way, you may be able to like roll with it. But if that's not an environment that you're accustomed to or you're used to or you want to be a part of, which I would like to think many of us would not want to be a part of such environments, then naturally we are going to shut down. Like, who do you think you're talking to? And I found myself with this particular director at times professionally having to check her, meaning drawing a boundary line. Like, you're not gonna, yes, you're my superior, but you're not gonna talk to me that way. Like, that's inappropriate, right? And so she learned with me, not that she was going to change overnight with me or with everybody else, but she at least learned with me that I was going to give some professional pushback. Like, you're not going to just sun me in a whole meeting full of people and that's just going to be that. Like, I'm going to say what I'm going to say. I'm going to try my best to do it in the most professional and politically correct way that I can. But at the same time, I'm drawing a line for you because this is not okay, and this is not okay with me, right? Some people would do what I did, and many wouldn't, right? So I get how, you know, a lot gets lost in delivery. And I even said to her at one point, when she finally gave me my just due about certain things, I said, you have great wisdom to impart, but it gets lost in your delivery. And at that point, what's the point of having jewels of wisdom if nobody's getting it because you are disrespecting people essentially, and they're getting caught up in how you're saying what you're saying. And in the same podcast episode, I referenced Dame Dash. He is the perfect example of this. Like, Dame Dash has a lot of jewels of wisdom to drop about a lot of things, about all things entrepreneurial and having that business mind and whatever. But because he talks real greasy to people, a lot of times they're gonna just be triggered or be annoyed and offended than to really hear what he's saying. I'm glad that as I've grown and matured emotionally, and when I say matured, more so like being able to see through certain things and, oh, that's that person's stuff, and learn not to take things as personally. It doesn't mean I don't draw my boundary lines because I'm the boundary queen. But learning not to own and let people project their mess onto me and me just take it, right? Like, that's their shit. That ain't, like, I'm not taking that. So once you're able to kind of look at things or once I was able to look at things a little bit differently, I learned how to separate the delivery from the message. And I challenge myself in most situations when I come across people who are like this, is to check them when I need to check them, but in the same vein, be able to get whatever jewels of wisdom that they are dropping. Whatever it is for me to learn in the moment, for me to be able to get that, recognize that, and hear that, and not just dial into the delivery, right? So Kevin Samuels, a lot of people, a lot of women, a lot of feminists don't like him, don't rock with him, and I get it. Because his delivery is so off-putting, and it's like disrespectful. However, or condescending, it just has this edge to it. However, I tuned into enough of his episodes because I want to know, how do men really think? And I've always been this way. I've always sat around my husband and his friends to kind of hear how men think, or my brother and his friends growing up to hear how guys think about certain things, especially as it pertains to women, and how we, how they think that we understand how they think when we don't. And so I'm like, I want to hear from this guy, what is it that he and these wealthy, high value men think, especially as it pertains to women? Because I think as women, we seem to think that we understand a lot of things as it pertains to men, and we don't. We think that we have it right. We think that, oh, no, girl, no, sis, it's cool. He's curving you because he like you, though. No, he don't. Like, my husband had to tell me that when we were just coworkers years ago. Like, y'all be making up these narratives in your mind, like thinking that you understand what these dudes are out here doing. That dude is not trying to be with you. He want to smash. Yeah, he'll have sex with you. Yeah, y'all could chill and hang out and kick it. But that dude ain't trying to be with you like that. Like, that dude got a girl. You just, he just kicking it with you on the side. That's why he ain't never taking you out on legitimate dates. That's why y'all ain't never doing nothing but having sex when you're together. That's, so like sometimes you do need that. I enjoy having that raw dose of reality from men telling me, men that are not like dealing with me. When my husband used to say all this stuff, this was before we were ever dating. We were just co-workers. My brother sometimes would put me on the game too, like, nah, dudes, nah, I don't know about that guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like to hear the raw, unadulterated, unfiltered truth, so I can take the crazy ways that Kevin Samuels says what he says, because I'm peeling back the layers trying to get to the meat and potatoes and the message of what he's really saying. Like, I'm curious, how do men think in general about these things, and then how do men who got money think? Like, yes, I want to know. So it does sound crazy when he's like, so what's your size? How tall are you? Okay. And he's asking all these questions to his callers that are women, because he's like, yo, Nah, that you're out of your league. Like they not trying to see, they not seeing it for you. Like you're not. This dude don't want to be with someone like you, and it sounds harsh and it sounds crazy, and it's borderline disrespectful and hurtful in some ways. But I could appreciate the unfiltered brashness of it all because I'm learning and how some men think. I'm not saying all men think this way. I'm not saying all wealthy men think this way. But I do believe that there is enough of a percentage of men and wealthy men who do think this way. And I think for us as women, it's important for us to be aware of that. And I've always said, as much as a lot of us may not want to admit it, a lot of times they do want the gorgeous girl. Like, let's not get it twisted. You know, I said to my husband today, sorry if I'm jumping all over the place, man. But I said to my husband today, we were shopping around at Wegmans or something, and I'm like, you know, I need to get the rest of this baby weight off. I need to get into the best shape of my life. Like, it's time. January is here in a matter of hours, days. Like, I need to get this thing together. And I said to him, you know, I said, I think I'm going to cut down on some carbs. You know, my husband and I have been eating more plant-based. Plant-based is a slippery slope, though, because you can end up eating hella carbs, which is going to cause you to gain weight. Or you can still be kind of dibbling and dabbling with eating things that have sugar if you're not careful. So a lot of times we think, oh, plant-based, oh, vegan, oh, automatically I'm losing weight. Like, no, if you're not careful, yeah, you're not eating meat, but you could find yourself gaining weight, right? So I'm like, I need to shake this weight off. So I said, I think I'm going to slow down with the carbs and with sugar. I do have a bit of a sweet tooth. I like all things chocolate and cookies and sour powers and all of that. Always have been my weakness, right? And this is the most inactive I've been. I just had a baby. It's a pandemic. The gyms are pretty much closed. Like, where am I going to work out? You know, I need to get back to walking. I'm finding my new normal with having a little one. I can't take him out to walk. It's too cold. I got to wait around my husband's schedule. His schedule is crazy as a fireman, and the list goes on. So it's real. It's becoming a very real thing. So, my husband and I had to have a conversation with him, and I was just venting about, you know, how I'm not feeling like myself in my skin physically, and it's time to like shed this weight and to get into the best shape of my life, right? And he did the thing husbands are supposed to do. Babe, you just had a baby. It's okay. Yes, what do you have? What is it that you want to do? And, and then I just, in the midst of everything, I'm like, are you even still attracted to me? And he's like, what? We're like in the wine section trying to look for champagne. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, are you still even attracted to me? Like, yes, I'm fluffier. He was like, babe, of course I am. What kind of question is that? Whatever. Who knows? Who knows if he was telling the truth? I'm like to think that he was, but I'm someone that I want to be real. Like, I don't feel comfortable in my skin. I'm fluffier than I would like to be. How do you feel about that? So I say that to say I can take the Kevin Samuels craziness and his foolish delivery at times because I just want to get to the truth. Like, what is the truth? What is it? And so I say that again to say men are visual creatures. Ladies, don't believe the hype when you feel like you've gained 30 pounds. I know many people have gained weight during the pandemic, understandably so. But yes, men are visual creatures. And even though they ass might have been getting just as fat alongside with you or putting on the pounds with you, it don't mean that they're gonna want you to remain that fluffy forever, right? Now, I'm big on doing things for yourself. First and foremost, I need to shed weight for my own health, for my own self, right? But then, yes, as a wife, I want my husband to look at me and be like, damn, 15 years later, yes, that's my wife. You know what I'm saying? Like, you want your husband to be attracted to you. You want your partner to be attracted to you sexually. Absolutely, right? And this is just a normal thing I believe women go through after having a baby. Your body forever changes. Like, the way I've gained weight is not the norm. Like, it's so weird, right? So, yes, I want to know the truth. I can take it, I can take it. And so I feel like women, we have to be okay with hearing unfiltered reality at times. And I'm not saying that everything that Mr. Kevin Samuel says is Bible. I'm not saying that in any way, shape, or form. I don't agree with a lot of what he says. However, I am not a man. I am not a part of the male species. And so who am I to be like, that's not how men think, and no, that ain't right. I'm not, who's listening to, I'm not listening to him to be like, yes, he's right or he's wrong. I'm personally listening because I'm curious about the mind of a lot of men and wealthy men and how they think as it pertains to us women, us black women, and just a myriad of topics. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes I feel like us women, and women, please don't bite my head off about this, but sometimes we are afraid to hear, I'm not going to say the truth. Sometimes we are afraid to hear the truth, and I think there are times where we're afraid to hear our men's truth, right? Or the opposite species truth about how they feel about us. And the same way a man can't argue us down about how women think and about what our realities and truths are, we really can't argue them down about that either. What I will implore any women who call into this man's show, please have your shit together. Do not call into this man's show wanting to talk about a topic that is not even what he's discussing. That's already starting the whole conversation out in a crazy way, right? He's already now going to have a certain tone with you. Like, that's that man's show. If you want to call in and you want his advice or you want to argue with him or whatever it is that you're calling his show for, make sure that you are on topic. Secondly, have your stuff together. Like, I'm tired of him talking circles around the many women that call into his show. Like, have your shit together. And they're allegedly professional women calling in who are attorneys, physicians, and everything else. And he still be shutting them down to where they have nothing to say. And it's just like, I need people, like, if you're going to call into that kind of show, like, have it together. Know what you're going to say. Be able to challenge him and have him think about some things, right? I'm curious about his background. I know a lot of people are like, who hurt you? What woman hurt you? Because the way you act, you seem like you hate black women. I'm curious about his backstory. You know, I don't know that any of the public will ever really know. But at the end of the day, if you're going to call into that show, have your shit together. Don't just be winging it and hitting him with stuff to the point where he shuts you down and makes you look like a fool. Like, have some type of substance that can challenge him, if that makes sense. You know, I do believe that, you know, I think he's been married once or twice or whatever, so he ain't got it all together when it comes to the marital love game. He can speak from his experiences as a man and what he's gone through, but I think there are some things for him to learn too, and I just hope that even men call into the show and give him something to think about. Let that be a conversation that's actually stimulating and not him just like sunning or shutting down somebody or making somebody, embarrassing somebody. Like, I'm not even saying to call and embarrass him, but just make him think about something. I need somebody to challenge him mentally as well, because I feel like he just shuts people down and he'll just hang up the phone, or it's real crazy. He's caused a lot of stir and buzz. But like I said, I have learned some things as far as how a lot of men may think out here, especially men with wealth. And for the women who want to date men in that league and who are looking to be taken care of in that way and to live a life of luxury and all of that and pomp and stance and all that kind of stuff, like, just know that there's a lot that comes with that world, and that world doesn't ensure happiness. And that's another point that he often makes. It's at that point, it's not always about love. He's like, y'all want it all. It's not how this works. You know, when you're with men who have that kind of money, I think of athletes, right? They make a lot of money. Their women, their wives, their children's mothers, especially their wives, a lot of them are probably not that happy. Their men are never around. So yes, you'll be living this life of luxury, but 9 out of 10 times you may be alone more than you're with someone. So if you really want to be with someone for companionship and like true love and all that kind of stuff, someone in that wealthy box may not be that for you, you know. Sometimes, and another thing he says that bothers people is sometimes it's okay to be average. He was like, y'all make it seem like average is this bad thing. And it kind of made me stop and think. Y'all know I like I like controversial conversations, and I like to be kind of like, let me sit back and think about this, because he's right. Like, a lot of times the word average is looked at as mediocrity or as not good or not good enough, right? Um, when most average everyday folks are probably middle income. Most average everyday folks live lives that most of us live, right? And so that doesn't mean that that is a bad thing. That doesn't mean that this is something to not aspire for. I always say I want the simple life. I just want to be able to pay my bills, have a little left over, have something left over to be able to spend time with my family, travel the world. I just want simple things in life. I don't need to live in like a crazy house that's like hella big. I don't need 5 cars in the garage. Like there are a lot of things that we really don't need in life. Like it's the simple things to me that's what's going to sustain your marriage. That's what's going to keep you feeling fulfilled as a person. That's what's going to help you be the best parent you could be, the best person you could be. Like I don't feel like the average life that most of us live is this horrible, horrific thing. Sometimes I feel like we always want more, and we're programmed to want more, thinking that more is better. More is not always better, folks. More money doesn't mean an all around better life. More money just means more money. And yes, certain areas of your life may be better than the average, but at the end of the day, a lot of wealthy people are unhappy, alone, commit suicide, like miserable out their mind. I'm not saying having money and wealth is a horrible thing, but I don't know why, and I'm included in this, why we all at some point or at most points aspire to be so super wealthy. Like, and what are we going to do with all this money? Are we really going to be out here helping people, trying to make the world a better place? What are we going to be doing with all these riches? What are we going to be doing with all of this? Like, excess, more is not always equal to being better. Average does not always mean less than, not enough, not good enough. So there's certain things that the man says that I could vibe with. There are a lot of things that the man says that I disagree with, but either way, I'm willing to separate the delivery at certain points just to get an understanding of how some of the male species think. But that's just me. If he's not your cup of tea, I get it. I don't tune into him all the time. Every now and then I'll be like, let me see what he's talking about. But, sometimes I'm over there for laughs and giggles because he's a pretty good wordsmith, and he knows how to calmly talk to people and ruffle their feathers. And it could be entertaining if I'm being honest. I think that's part of his shtick, right? But at the end of the day, I think in life we'll miss out on a lot of great teachable moments and lessons about certain things if we consistently and constantly get caught up in the delivery. Sometimes we got to be able to separate the two. And I know it's easier said than done. Been there, done that. But sometimes from the Dame Dashes and the Kevin Samuels and any other, your boss or whoever it is in your life that talks real greasy to people, sometimes, for sure, put your boundaries down. Don't let them disrespect you, so to speak. But sometimes there still is something to learn. And I think I'm at the stage in my life where I'm willing to learn. I think everybody has something to offer. I'm willing to learn from anyone. And most people, in a sense, there's always something to be learned, right? And we can't always get caught up in our feelings, because sometimes we can miss out on something that could be beneficial to us in the end. So that's how I'm going to wrap up that whole Kevin Samuels thing with the bow. But in the comments, because once this is posted, I only got one person rocking with me. Thank you for rocking with me this long. Once this is posted, in the comments, let me know how you feel. Let me know what your perspective is on his whole movement. What else? Oh, and so for weeks I've been saying I wanted to talk about The Emotions has a song that I love, the old school group The Emotions, Don't Ask My Neighbor, Come to Me. And I don't know, I was in the house listening to this song one day. I don't know what I was doing, and I was like, this song is so real, because I've experienced in my life where, as opposed to people coming to me to ask me whatever it is that they want to know about my life, they're going to my best friend, they go into the people who are closest to me trying to get information. And my thing is, why do we do that as humans? Like, why can't we just go to the person? And then let me back it up further. Why do we feel like we we should know people's business. You know what I'm saying? Like, not everything is for us to know. Not everything is our business. You know what I'm saying? So, yes, if you're going to be nosy, I think it's best to be nosy to the person whose business you're trying to find out, as opposed to going to the people that they're closest to trying to get information. I think that that's like super whack. Um, because at the end of the day, if you're going to be nosy, just have the balls to ask whoever it is their business, as opposed to asking someone who you know talks to them, like, is so and so with that person, or I heard they broke up, what happened with them, or is so and so pregnant, or whatever the tea is. Just go to the person whose tea you're trying to find out. At the end of the day, I think even if they shut you down and don't tell you their business, I'm pretty sure they'll respect you more, as opposed to going to their friend or their family member or whoever trying to find out intel on them. Like, to me, that's kind of whack, especially when we're grown. You know, when we're like in our 30s, 40s, like, we shouldn't be wanting to be in people's business like that. Even if you naturally have questions, even if I'm having pillow talk with my husband and I naturally have questions about someone, I'm not gonna like now take it upon myself to like go to who they rock out with, who they're friends with, who they chill with, to like get their business. Like, it's never that serious to me, you know. But I find it interesting that as humans, we tend to do this all the time. This happened to me. I found out this was happening to me when I was pregnant. This was happening to me when I was planning a wedding. This was happening to me on a normal, regular, schmegular day where I'm finding out, you know, that people are going to the people closest to me trying to, you know, find stuff out. And it's just like, just come to me. Like, I don't understand whether I tell you or not, come to me. I personally am pretty open. You know, the things that I really won't get into depth about are like my marriage, because that's personal. But for the most part, a lot of other areas of my life, I'm very transparent. I'm very open. I tell people all the time, like, if you really want to know me and know about me, just watch my vlogs, listen to my podcast, like, because I talk about my own situations, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, at the end of the day, just come to me. Don't ask my friends and my family. You know, I have family members who will do that, asking me about my brother's business or asking me about another cousin's business. And it's just like, go to our cousin, go ask my brother. Like, I'm not, you think I'm gonna tell you my brother's business? Like, no. Go to him with any questions that you may have. Like, people don't really come to me too much, maybe a little bit in my family here and there, but like on a friend level, people don't really come to me, probably because they know I'm gonna nicely be like, you're gonna have to ask that person that. Like, I'm not gonna spill anybody's tea. Like, that's so uncool. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna have to go to them about that. And I think it's because, once again, I love to draw boundaries with people. So, you know, I don't really get that a lot. But if I'm being honest, you know, some of the closest people to me, you know, they'll come to me and tell me, yeah, so-and-so was asking about this when it pertained to you. And it's just like, why, folks, just come to me. Just come to me. I don't bite. I'm not like a Kevin Samuels where I'm gonna talk real greasy to you. I can be harsh. I get that. It's a part of my personality. Maybe it's a character flaw. But for the most part, I am not just out here sunning people and being disrespectful. That's not even who I am. That's not my style. So you can come to me. I'll probably lovingly and nicely tell you to mind your business. But you can still come to me. I'll respect you more if you come to me. And I try my hardest not to be in people's business like that. Like, even when people are volunteering it to me, you know, it happened to me the other day. Someone was volunteering information to me that I didn't want to know. Like, because sometimes I feel like some information is dangerous. Like, I don't need to know that about your marriage. I don't need to know that just about you in general. Like, I just don't need to know. I don't want to be called as a character witness as some stuff go down. Like, I don't need to know. So, you know, for me, for the most part, if I have questions, I'll say, if you don't mind me asking. And that's my way of saying, girl, or sir, you can shut me down if you don't want me to know. I'm like, if you don't mind me asking, you know, if I'm having a moment of slight nosiness, or if I feel like I need clarity about something that you're trying to explain to me. But I don't go digging for people's business and information like that, you know. I try to respect folks' boundaries the way I like to folk to respect my boundaries. The problem is they still be asking my friends. So yeah, I wanted to bring that up. Like in 2021, y'all, like let's if you're gonna have a nosy moment, maybe be like how I kind of do. If I need clarity about something you're saying to me, like if you don't mind me asking, or just go to the person, like don't snoop around and tiptoe around them trying to get intel, and then ask yourself, why do you need to know this business in the first place? Sometimes I have to ask myself that, like, nope, I'm not going to ask that question. I don't like to get in grown folk business. That ain't my business to be in. And let me leave that alone. Let me leave that alone. But I know it's a human thing. We're wired to just be nosy sometimes. And, I think because we're such creatures of comparisons, which is really not the best of things, I think it's easy to want to know someone else's business, because maybe we're trying to compare it to our lives, where we're using it as a measuring stick. Well, if this person did that, then maybe it's not bad that I did that. Or if this person didn't do that, maybe it's bad that I did that. I don't know. I think also some of us are miserable and bored, and, we just like to get caught up in people's business because it kind of is entertaining and it makes us feel good about whatever is or is not happening in our lives. And so it's easy to just hear somebody else's tea and be real like judgy, and some of us actually like other people's downfalls, or some of us just love to gossip, or some of us we just get off with being nosy and gossipy. And in 2021, let's all do better. I'm a part of the conversation. Let's all do better. If you're gonna be nosy, at least have the balls to be nosy to the person's face whose business you want to know, right? And let's stop with the messiness. I feel like there's been a lot of, it doesn't matter that the world was falling apart by the threads this year. There still was a lot of messiness happening. Maybe it's because we were quarantined for so many months and really couldn't leave the house much and ain't have shit to do. There were a lot of folk who was hella messy, let's do better in 2021. The messiness is unnecessary. And I was reminded of this in watching the Real Housewives franchise, the Potomac one, the reunion, the 3-part, and the whole season. I was reminded how misery truly loves company. And if you're not careful, that bad vibe and juju and that energy could fall right on you. And then you find yourself having negative thoughts, and you find yourself kind of like being miserable with certain things. Like, be careful who you keep around. Be careful the energy that you keep around you, y'all. That's a very real thing. I feel like lately there have been miserable people who have been trying to put that misery juju out on me. And I'm like, get off me, back up. Like, I don't want no parts of that. Let me stay in my little bubble of a world. Let me stay in my mom world right now. Like, I don't need that. So be careful. It's so slick how it happens. People could plant seeds of misery and negativity, and before you know it, your mind is like playing tricks on you, and you're reading into things and you're thinking things that are so unhealthy and uncool, and you're allowing that person's bad energy to pretty much jump onto you. That is a very real thing. So in 2021, please be careful who you keep around you, who you are talking to on the regular, who you're sharing your business with. Like, there are a lot of miserable folk out there, y'all. A lot of miserable people out there. Be careful. Please be careful. I'm telling you, some of that bad misery juice was trying to come on to me, and I was like, oh, Once again, there's certain things I don't need to know. I don't need to know your whole life story. I don't need to know all your business. Like, there's certain things I don't need to know. And I like to keep a certain energy around me, because that is a very, very, very real thing. If you're around negative people all the time, that can end up, being your outlook if you're not careful. Like, please, folks, be careful. I'm telling you, let's all do better in 2021. If you are miserable, work your situation out, work on yourself, do what you need to do. But stop trying to spew that misery and that hate and that dislike, that discontentment, whatever you're going through. Stop projecting it onto other people. You know what I'm saying? Like, figure your stuff out. Like, don't do that. Don't spread that negative energy. There are a lot of people who do that. That has happened to me on a few occasions in my adult life, where miserable people who I was trying to be helpful to ended up trying to make me miserable because they were miserable. Like, I had to put people on pause. I had to cut people out of my life. Like, there's certain, nope, nope. You were not messing up my happy home, my peaceful home, my peace of mind. Like, no. If you're that miserable, I'm sorry. We don't need to rock out like that. Work on yourself and figure that shit out. Um, but, I'm going to wrap this up. Pretty much 2021, I'm looking at it with the side eye. A lot of people are like, can't wait till 2021. Yes, a couple more hours, 2 more days, or a day and a half, or whatever. Nope. I'm looking at it like, what you fitting to bring? So I'm hoping for the best, but at the same time, in some ways, I am expecting some level of not so good stuff. We've already heard that the worst of COVID hasn't even happened yet. I think they're predicting January and February to be the months where it really gets bad. So please, folks, please, please, please stay safe. If you really don't have to be out there in them streets, don't. Please, for sure, make sure you're wearing your mask. Wash your hands when you come back from being outside. Don't be all touching your face and your eyes when you're outside. Disinfect your phones. I think a lot of people, they take all the other precautions, but then they never disinfect their phones. So you're still touching your phone, and you're at home and you're touching your face. Like, when you come back from being outdoors, disinfect your phone. I'm crazy. I have an old iPhone, so I don't really care much about it right now. I have a 7 Plus, super old. I put straight Clorox bleach spray on my phone and wipe it down when I come back from being in the house. That's me. If you got the nice new 12 or whatever, I wouldn't say maybe do that, but find a way to disinfect your phone that's not going to damage your phone. But like, it defeats the purpose if you're washing your hands and some people get in the house and they take off their clothes that they wore outside, and you're doing all these things, but you never disinfect your phone and you're on your phone. We all know how our phones are attached to our hands. So disinfect your phones. Be careful, because like I said, you don't know if you do get this virus, how it could affect you. And so just be careful. I don't really feel like we need to be outside like that unless you're still working, you're at your job day to day. I get it. Please be careful. But there's no need for us to do the most and to be having kickbacks and people over the house and all this kind of gathering with a lot of people. Like, just be careful. Please, for New Year's Eve, y'all, be okay with being in your house and it not being this whole social event. Like, it's never worth risking your safety and your well-being and your health, or anybody else's for that matter. So for me, I'm looking at 2021 with a side eye. I'm hoping for the best, but I'm expecting the worst, if I'm being honest, or the worst of things. I do believe it's going to eventually get better, but not overnight. And I'm just trying to do as much as I can with the time that I have, the downtime. I'm not currently working. I'm at home with my baby. I'm trying to enjoy that as much as I can. It's very important and vital for him to be able to be with me. I wasn't going to send him to any daycare during a pandemic, and I'm probably a little too attached right now, if I'm being honest, to even have him be with someone else for like 8, 9, 10 hours of the day. So I'm just thankful that God blessed me and my husband to be in a situation where I still have income, and of course my husband works and has has income, and we're able to put our incomes together and live our life as we need to. So I'm super thankful for that. But I'm glad that I'm able to be home with my child and make sure he's nurtured and well taken care of and sheltered from all of this crazy germs and things outside. And I'm using it as a time to continue to build and to figure out what my divine purpose is and how that can align with my day-to-day job. And I want to work somewhere where I am valued. I'm tired of working for other people, if I'm being honest with you. So I'm trying to figure out all things career while I have this downtime to think, and praying about these things. What disheartened me is that a lot of people that I know who once believed in God have definitely turned their backs and no longer believe in God. And I'm not judging them. because I know that we all have to go through our own journeys and experiences as it pertains to God becoming real for us, or us buying into or committing our lives to living a certain way, or to acknowledging who God is, right? And I'm just hoping that with the craziness that this year has brought on all of us, that if we ever doubted his realness, or if we no longer believed, or if we still believe, I'm just hoping that our faith has been restored in some way. Because I don't know about y'all, but I just don't know that the world as we know it is going to just get back to being this safe and amazing, and like this place where we can kind of keep our head in the sand and not really see things for what they are, or that life is going to continue to allow us to just coast through the way some of us have been coasting. I think from this point forward, it's going to be real. And I think that a lot of us are going to be forced to get it together. And I'm speaking to myself too. I've never doubted God's existence. I've always believed, but I haven't always lived my life for him the way that I should. And I think this year, if anything, has really been nudging me, like, you need to get a home church, you have a child now, you need to raise and train him up in the ways of God, how you were raised and trained up. And just my soul needs to be able to have that network of Christians and people, right? I don't know that I can continue to just not have a church home and like not go to church like that and just thrive how I've been thriving. And I think 2020 has definitely broadened my eyes about that. And that's a place that I had to come to on my own. It couldn't be something that my parents were pushing on me, or anyone else for that matter. It has to be something in your heart that where you're like, I hear you, Lord, I hear you. And that's where I'm at, right? I'm to the point where I really want my life to be within the will of God. Crazily enough, my husband and I, maybe a month ago, we were in the kitchen cooking together, and I was kind of saying these things to him, and he was like, yeah, I was driving the other day and I just felt so spiritually like drained. Like he said, I started praying. And my husband didn't grow up quite the way that I did in a Christian home. He grew up in a Catholic home, and we had different experiences and teachings and rearings when it comes to, faith and things of that nature and Christianity. And for him to say that, like, it's real out here, you know what I'm saying? It's something that we all have to arrive at on our own in some way. I'm just thankful that he and I are kind of on the same page with that. Because if I'm being honest, I always felt like we weren't always on the same page with that. So I'm glad to see that we are, and we both agree that we want our son to, when things get better, of course, we want our son to grow up going to church and knowing who God is and having that be a big fixture and part of his life. And I'm just, like I said, I'm to the point where I just want to be in the will of God. I really don't want to, it's not worth it to operate outside of that and make my life harder than it needs to be, make my child's life harder than it needs to be, make my marriage harder than it needs to be. Like, nah, I'm good. Like, I'd rather just, Lord, what is it that you need me to do? You need me to be, you need me to go. And it's crazy enough, I really feel like the church that I should be at, I feel like I've known this for some time, but I'm like, no, the church is too far. It's like an hour and 40 minutes from my house, and this, that, and the third, and whoop-de-whoop-de-woo. And I was working in retail, always working on Sundays. That ain't gonna work. I had every excuse in the book. But I recognize where my church should be. And I believe, crazily enough, not even crazily enough, but I believe I believe I'm supposed to be where one of my college mates, Pastor Charles Galbraith, he has a church in Brooklyn, and I believe Clarendon Road. I kind of believe that's where I should be. And Charles, if you happen to watch this, if you see it posted, just know, when I can physically be at your church, I will be. But I definitely try to tune into the virtual services, and so I'm just to that point. 2020 reminded me, you need a church home, and Chanel, you need to, like, there's some things in your life that you need to change, right? And there are areas that you need to do better. and my Christianity is one of those areas. And I think I've always been transparent about that for years. But I think this was finally the year where I really am like, no, for real, Chanel. Like, stop playing games. This is what you need. This is not even just you. This is what your family needs. And it's probably going to take you in some ways to take that first step and that leap. But this is what needs to happen. And so I will end it there. I just want to encourage you all. I'm not one for pushing my belief system on anyone who may not be that of a Christian. But what I will say is just in seeing everything that has happened this year and the many lives that were lost, and for everyone that I knew that died, I was praying and hoping and praying that they were saved, because we don't like to think about the afterworld. We just like to think about the here and the now. But I couldn't imagine living an eternity in hell and all of that. So my thing is, I'm hoping that this year, if you've ever wondered about God, questioned his existence, if you've doubted it, if you've turned away from it, like let's all really look at ourselves spiritually and figure out, with God's help, where it is that we need to be. If you're not a Christian, if you're an atheist, this may be the part that you skip through. I'm even hoping that your heart would change. But I just wanted to share some of that with you. Thank you for rocking out with me, Jet Setting RN. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And stay safe out there, y'all. Happy New Year. I'm praying that you have a prosperous, healthy, blessed, and amazing New Year. Let's stay in this together and pray for our nation and its healing. Thank you so much. As I always say, until next time, Canna Talk with Chanel. You can still listen to episodes on Spotify, Anchor, Apple, and Google Podcasts. Thank you for all the love and support, and until next time.